for the past 8 years to bring international speakers over to New Zealand, and we're moving to virtual. The program's been called Project Connect. .co.nz, and we actually just started talking to Ryan yesterday about some of the learnings that we both can share around how we're moving to move things online and towards live streaming.
Cool. And what's the best and worst part of lockdown for you, Hal?
Well, last year I was on 96 flights, and so I don't have the flying shakes, which is good. And I'm happy to be home a little more often, so I'm not suffering as some may be from just being homebound and going a little zappy.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Just to draw a couple of connections, so Shandon has been on 70 flights. I don't know if it's 70 flights the past year or 70 flights this year, but you two with your living on a plane will have some commonalities. And Perry and Marcel will have the Brisbane Australian connection. But we'll go over to Thomas Evans for introduction and best and worst.
I thought I'd sneak in to see.
Come on, then.
Hopefully nobody would notice me. How's it going, bro? Long time no see.
Absolutely. Well, here's to that beer that we didn't quite have that we're planning to have.
Well, that one that we were organising but never quite happened.
Yeah. So, introduce yourself and give everyone the best and worst of lockdown for us.
So what is it? Day 14 today. So my name's Thomas Evans. So I run a company called Raw Creative. Essentially, it's a marketing consultancy. Best and worst of lockdown. I don't know if you can hear the background, but I've got a 4.5-year-old who's running around going, "I don't want to do what I don't want to do." So that's probably the worst bit of the lockdown, to be quite honest, trying to get some work done.
Sounds like your dad.
Yeah, exactly. You're not wrong. So yeah, probably the worst bit is trying to concentrate and get some stuff done. So in terms of, client stuff is ticking over. It's probably been really busy couple of weeks in terms of everybody wants communications or wanted some form of communications. So it's going through the process of writing those for each of the clients and kind of what they mean and what is happening kind of means for their business and stuff like that. So that's always an interesting process in itself. But that's probably calmed down this week, and most people are starting to talk about, okay, so we are where we are. We kind of understand that. Everybody's working from home. Everybody's doing what they need to do. It's what does the future look like, and how long is the current situation going to last? So, I've got some clients who are going, right, I've got time to think about all of that stuff that you said that I should be doing for the last, 2 or 3 years. Why don't we do all of that? So that's, in that sense, it's a positive thing. I've got other clients going, I'm not too sure where my cash is going to come from for the next couple of months.
Yeah, so that's I guess that's the theme we've been having in some way every day, which is there are people in all different states from I can work, but I've got no clients because they can't work, so I've got no cash flow, or I can't work, my clients can't work, I'm on government subsidy or I'm not on government subsidy. But that is where we're at.
Yep.
So we'll go over to Perry. So we'll jump to Mr. Galaxy S6 Edge and Grant Olaf. We'll come back to you, but we need to see your face, mate, not your bike. And this is just as a bit of a reminder, as this is AFQY, this is meet the person, not the suit. So when we do our introductions, let's aim to keep bring it a little bit more personal than business. It's all right it's good to mention a bit of business, but it's not a focus about business. It's about connecting as humans. So over to you in Brisbane, Perry. Huh?
Was that too serious for you, bro?
You were. No, we get to that later once we know each other. We go down some pretty deep rabbit holes. Don't worry about that. So Perry, how's it in Brisbane, mate? How's Bris Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit warmer than sort of New Zealand. For me, sort of...
Because you're rubbing all the sandpaper together.
Yeah. Nah, it's good. It's good over here in some ways. I think the highlights for the lockdown, what I'm doing at the moment is just quickly as part of the ambassador for an online sort of B2B, B2C platform that's based in Beijing. And so in the last sort of 2 months, I've been sort of connecting with a lot of Kiwi sort of exporters to see if we can get them onboarding through our platform so that the online shopping model in China can sort of get there, see the products. And part of the problem is they have sort of massive walls to stop our internet getting through. So even if they could see our sort of websites and our businesses, they can't understand it because not a lot of them read English. So it's a simple, simple solution. But I mean,
to come back to you, mate. You live in Brisbane.
Yeah,
I used to live on Sheriff Street. So whereabouts are you in Brisbane? How are the kids, the family?
Everyone's asleep at the moment. I'm in Forest Lake. Been here for a few years. Sort of, yeah. It's quiet. It's really quiet. Yeah. It's real dead. Like I've never seen it this quiet before. But I mean, there are still people walking around the lake that we've got here. So.
Yeah, so we've been in lockdown, and different people share different experiences as we go around, but we're not allowed to go out for anything except for essential services or for fitness. So
yeah,
it's been quite interesting to be going on walks, and the two main things I've witnessed are I can see people that haven't been doing fitness for 10 years doing fitness. That's quite obvious. And everyone is a lot more neighbourly. Everyone's saying hello. Everyone's swapping or asking who wants to swap across the street to keep the 2 metre distance. And with others, you're now seeing them regularly that we're starting to have little chats. And different streets are doing different things. Like it started in Italy and France, where Italy was singing out their windows because they're in lockdown. And in France, they would clap and cheer for the doctors all at 7 o'clock at night in unison across the cities. So with those stories, there have been various streets that are doing it here in New Zealand. And it's sort of bringing together a real sense of community. And the last comment I'll make, which I've said in just about every call, is, when I was a kid, we all used to know each other in the street. And we used to go to the general's place, who gave us a bottle of fizzy, and we'd talk about our sports results. By the time I was a teenager, we didn't even know our neighbours. So we're sort of going back in time almost 40 years almost. But what we'll do is we'll jump over to Grant Olaf to introduce himself as a new one. So it's a brief intro, meet the person, and the best and worst part of lockdown. Oops, you're not on. Something's not on. Technical issue.
Try that a bit. How's that?
There we go.
Yeah, look at that. Well, hi guys, I'm Grant Olaf. I work for a company called OSS Group. Live out at Mangere Bridge, so if I was to turn the camera around, you get to see the side of the mountain out there back.
Oh, yeah.
And a little bit like what Ryan was just saying, I suppose we get out every day. We've got a place down Rotorua, so the first picture was our mountain bike by the Green Lake. But we were going to bounce between Rotorua and here, but because of lockdown, I suppose we're observing and staying in our little region, in our bubble.
Dave Clark could always give you a lift to Rotorua with your mountain biking.
Well, yeah, Clarky, I see a few of the guys out around the forest a bit, and that's what I'm missing, I suppose, a little bit. But we've been getting out every day, trying to get out either for a walk or a ride, as you say, get a bit of fresh air in between all the VCs. So and the best part, I think I'm really starting to miss my open plan office. That's the worst part about lockdown. I can't just yell across the room or look around the room and see who's there and who's free, or yell across the room to get an answer from somebody on something. But the best part is, I suppose, I don't have to put up with the traffic in the morning. So, what is it, 20 steps or something the other day I worked out, from the bedroom to the bathroom to my office. So it's not, I can't blame being stuck in traffic.
Well, no, and I thoroughly loving the lack of traffic. And someone was talking about a guy who ran a marathon on his deck, going in circles. I thought that was quite interesting. That was a bit of a global story. Yeah. So I know that Karen and Anthony both have to go by 9, so we'll go over to Karen. Introduce yourself. How's it going?
Good. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Karen. I am industry advisor for the School of Engineering, Computer and Mathematical Sciences for AUT. Yeah, best and worst things of lockdown. So I live on my own, so I suppose that's probably the worst thing, being on my own. I'm quite a sociable person, so it's taken a little bit of time to get used to, but hey, we've got Zoom and all these other different kind of technology solutions. So I've actually been talking to lots of people throughout the day and evenings. And also I'm eating too much. That's the other worst thing. I can't stop eating, so I've got to stop eating. The best thing, I suppose I've reconnected with a lot of people. Yeah. What are you eating there, Ryan? What is it?
I'm not, but I've got it in my pocket.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I've reconnected with a lot of people. My sister, for example, I've probably spoken to her more in the last 2 weeks than I have since I've moved to New Zealand. So yeah, there's lots of positives. And I'm slowly getting used to it, and I'm actually starting to enjoy my own space and having some relaxing time at the weekend. Yeah, thank you.
Cool, yeah, and we've got Easter coming up, and I didn't even realise when I booked April 9th, AFQY, the big event for April 9th, that it's the eve of Easter, and someone said to me, "Oh, you realise it's the eve of Easter?" And I said, "Where are you going? Your backyard?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah." So just luckily, but yeah, so I'm gonna post today about everyone bringing their photos of their Easter egg hunts to AFQY on Thursday night for their background if they can. So who have we got next? We've got another new person just popping in. Glenn Sparrow. Well, morning. Yeah, well, hey, look, we're just going around the room introducing ourselves. Another new person. It's Lisa Cooley. So I'll just say that again. We're just going around the room introducing ourselves briefly. Meet the person. So it's about you. Of course, mention what you do, but it's not a full story or pitch or anything like that. Yeah. And then the best and worst part of lockdown. So we're just going to get to Anthony, as he's got he leaves at 9 o'clock for doing some work, and then we'll come back to the two newbies, Glenn from Christchurch and Lisa from Auckland. Okay, over to you, Anthony.
Yeah, my name's Anthony Dye, and I'm an analytics business partner at Auckland Transport. I'm quite fortunate that I live on the Hibiscus coast, so it's been really nice looking out very flat way. The best part, I think, is spending time with my daughter when she does come over. So I have her 50% of the time. So yeah, but although she's eating me out of the house, and I'm probably going to have to go and do a shop soon. The worst part, I don't know if there's a worst part, but sometimes I feel a little bit sort of disengaged from my team. I'm working on that with my manager to try and sort that out. But like the brother over there with the Galaxy 6 Edge, he said he lived in Forest Lakes. I think my brother lives close by in Springfield Lakes.
Yeah, there's a lot of Kiwis out this way. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something in common, but yeah, that's it really. I'm actually enjoying it because I can spend more time with my daughter, and I can. The other thing is I'm not eating as much because I think I'm intermittently fasting, just because I'm flat out busy with meetings. So it kind of works really well.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say also, if anyone wants to, feel free to pop like your LinkedIn profile link in the chat, so that others can find you and connect with you if you want to catch up, i.e. the Brizzy kids, Bris Vegas. So I used to live in Sheriff Street in Brisbane, which is a stone's from, you can't, there's a railway track between us, but you could throw a stone on Suncorp Stadium. And yeah. I used to run a bar there called Fridays, which was kind of like the fancy lawyers bar during the day, because there's a big law practice was next door, and at night their kids would come with their credit cards and get wasted. But it was it was sort of like the viaduct. It's right on the river and everything. So we had my flat warming, and the cops came at 9 o'clock because the sound coming out of my flat was louder than the sound coming out of the street of bars just behind me. That's what happens when you have three DJs. Bring 3 sound systems, and here we go nuts. So it was quite back when I was 20 something. So who have we got now? Let's go to Vincent, who's probably, this is your second time. I think yesterday was your first time at AFQY Cafe.
Yes.
We need a song for this, don't we? Like the Hotel California. No, you never leave. I think there's a Beach Boys song. But anyway, over to you, Vincent.
Kia ora, everyone. So I'm Vincent. I co-founded Future Work Studio last year with business partner Joe, who was there yesterday. And we're passionate about future of work and how employees can work differently and have more meaningful careers within companies. So quite topical. Good thing about the lockdown is it's better than the last time I was in lockdown, because last time I was in a submarine for 44 days. So that's better to be home and close to the family and in beautiful New Zealand. The not so good part is, I can't really physically meet people, but to Ryan's bit, like when I go for exercise, it's just such a, people are always nice, but like it's one step further now. Like we're all in this together, and I think that's really cool. Although we can't really talk to people, I even do like a Zoom meeting with my next door neighbor because we can't really see each other.
Oh, did you share this to them? Were they keen to come?
Yeah, he's keen to come. Yeah, definitely.
This person's new to New Zealand, by the way. That's the point.
Yeah.
So Vincent's been making them welcome, and
so his wife is Kiwi. They lived in Dubai, and then they have 2 kids that were born in New Zealand, but now they're here because of the lockdown and everything, and they're quite happy. But yeah, they're new to. He's new to New Zealand. He's Irish originally. To be sure. As am I, can't you tell? Or at least of Irish heritage. So I completely skipped the 2 new people. Coming back to the 2 new people, we'll go ladies first. Lisa Cooley.
Unmute myself. Apologies for my lateness this morning.
That's all right. You can give me an apple or 100 lines.
I will. Sorry, had something urgent to deal with. But yeah, I'm Lisa. Lisa Cooley. I been in IT recruitment for ever and a day. The last decade here in Auckland, I run a recruitment company called Brightspark, so which has been going for 2 months, which is a fabulous time to obviously start a new business, but still going all right and keeping positive. So the best thing about lockdown would be spending time with my dog, who's asleep next to me. And
don't tell your new husband that.
He's still working. He's an essential service, so he still has to go to work. I've reconnected with some friends I haven't spoken to for a long time. I'm with some friends from years and years ago, because people want to talk because they're obviously stuck at home. And I've had some really good meetings, like lots and lots of really good meetings, video meetings with people. People do you have that sort of sense we're all in it together, and they have got time to talk to you at the moment. So that's been the really good thing, is having some really positive chats. The bad thing, look, I'm an extrovert, so I like to be around people. So I am sort of climbing the walls some days in this home office and just want to get out and about and can't, but obviously understand it's for the right reason. So yeah, but staying, learning that not every day you're going to be okay, and there's going to be some days when you're really down and probably burst into tears for no reason, but if you think of the enormity of it all, but it's trying to stay positive on the whole, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, the phone is always open or on, or Zoom, whatever, so if you have a moment and your usuals aren't there, you can always give us a call.
Thank you.
But yes, there's I not to focus on the enormity, but I do wonder about the realities of how many people will be out of work and who's going to enable them to pay their rent, or will banks even be around to pay rent too? But food, will we get to that zombie Walking Dead state where people are scavenging across the country to, So let's not go there. Let's go to Christchurch.
No, hopefully not.
Glenn Sparrow.
Yeah, I don't know how to quite follow that bombshell, Ryan.
Well, I don't. So introduce yourself and share your best and worst part of lockdown. Don't worry about it, but we'll go down the rabbit hole.
My name's Glenn Sparrow. I I work as an account manager for an IT security company. That's enough about work. I'm also a board member for MS and Parkinson's Society for Canterbury, and have been involved with the theatre school, and I'm on the board for the theatre school for more years than I'm actually quite willing to admit to at this point in time, because it would make me feel brutally old if I did admit to how many years I've been involved. The best thing about working for me is right now I'm sitting in a 1971 very beige, very Formica Oxford caravan. So, and I get to sit looking out.
Caravan, eh?
It used to be my father-in-law's fishing caravan up at the lake. He can't go fishing up at the lake now, but I get to sit looking out at my cherry tree right outside the window with fantails farting around in it.
Yep.
Literally have fantails hanging around. I live half an hour inland from Christchurch, so I literally have fantails hanging around my caravan all day while I sit out here working in peace and quiet.
Nice.
The worst bit is I can't, you know, I'm on the board for MS Parkinson's Canterbury. There's a reason for that, but I can't just go to the doctor. I can't just go to a physio if I've got pain that I need to deal with. And that assurance of knowing I can't just go to a hospital if something does go absolutely tits up. Excuse the expression. Like, that's probably the worst thing for me is I don't have that normal backup and infrastructure around me that I might need. I don't need it, but I might need.
Yeah,
that's the worst bit for me.
Well, positive thinking, and hopefully it'll never be the case.
Glenn, I completely agree with you. I have a 4-week-old, and he had a pneumothorax when he was born, and about a week ago he started having breathing problems, and we didn't know what to do because, I mean, ordinarily you take him into the emergency room, right?
Yeah.
We literally sat around the house going, do we take him to the emergency room? We called the midwives, they called the pediatricians, we got on a conference call with them, they took a look at, we literally texted them videos of him breathing, and then they decided for us to go into the emergency room at 10 o'clock at night, and we were there for 4 hours. So yeah, I'm right there with you. The support structure, you know, it's there, but there's a barrier to accessing it now that is, it's palpable.
You kind of don't want to use it.
Yeah.
You know it's there, but you kind of don't actually want to use it.
Yeah.
And you're you're going through a hell of a lot more than I do with just a little bit of shoulder and chest, shoulder and muscular pain. That's my head. Excuse the term, but I'll take my head off on that one.
Well, so you say that. The second cafe that I did, I was walking down to my office, which is outside, slipped, fell on my back on a set of stairs, dumped coffee all over myself. And for the last probably 5 days, my back and ordinarily I would have gone to the GP by now, but my back and shoulders are just, I'm trashed. But I don't want to go to the GP, and I don't even want to call them and bother them. They're way too busy doing other things.
Yeah. So
we'll take it offline on that one. I'll connect to you on LinkedIn, Sean.
That's what I was just politely trying to work out how to say to give everyone their time and keep things rolling. Won't even get into the fact that we're waiting on a brain surgery, and we've been called in to have Nikki, my wife, have flu vaccinations and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, basically they said we would have had you in way sooner for this, but we've been dealing with emergency after emergency. So because of her risk, they want her to have a flu vaccine. But moving on, let's go to, now I'm going to see if I say it right, because I hear you say it and I mispronounce your name every time I say it. So I think it's, if I get it right, it's Chandan.
That's correct, Ryan. Perfect pronunciation.
Yes.
Excellent. So good morning, everyone. My name is Chandan. I work for a company called Duco Consultancy. I love to travel, but not as much as I would. I have to, so around 70 trips, international trips last year, as Ryan mentioned earlier. Have not been to the international airport for more than 3 weeks, so I have my withdrawal symptoms. At the moment, currently, I'm a relationship person, so currently at home being at home is very difficult, and this interaction, getting to know new people with QY is an absolutely amazing release for me every day in the morning, where I get to meet a few people. So this is probably my third or fourth visit, and I'm absolutely loving and thankful to all of you, where I can come and interact and make new friends on a daily basis. Because after this, I go back into virtual meetings and proposals and deliverables and all of that, and you just don't meet new people, which I absolutely love to. So I'll make a point to connect with all of you on LinkedIn and stay in touch. But absolutely fantastic to meet all of you. Amazing. Thank you very much. That's me.
Cool. And looks like Gemma's on the phone, so we'll actually go back to Sean. Do you ever introduce yourself with all the new people?
Yeah, so Sean Muller, I live down in Wellington, as you can hear from the voice. I'm not a native Kiwi, although I just recently got my citizenship. Been in New Zealand for 6 years, 2 sons born here. They got their passports before I did. 2 daughters from my first marriage. Both of them came with me to live in New Zealand. We live up in Broadmeadows. I have a beautiful view of Mount Kaukau on one side and the harbor on the other side. Best and worst things. Best is probably being here after the birth of my youngest son, to be able to help support my wife because her mother wasn't able to come over because of the lockdown. Worst is probably my 4-year-old son. I'm right there with you, Thomas. My 4-year-old is running around constantly, and he runs down to my office and he pokes his head in. And he goes, "Daddy, can I play with your Legos?" And yes, it's hard to get work done.
I actually feel a little bit guilty for the guy who said that he's spending time with his daughter. I was thinking, why didn't I come up with that one?
That's all right, mate. I'm sure you are. I mean, everything blends in through the day, like.
Oh, it's a balance.
Work, play,
right?
work, play.
Yeah, it's a balance, right? So we've got an aside. We've got a power outage that's going to be happening today. That's been moved up from Saturday. So from 10 till 4, I think it is. We're not going to have any power at home. So we've decided that we're going to go for a family walk. We're going to take a picnic. We're going to go up the back, where I live, Ryan. We're going to take the boys up there. We're going to have a walk. They're going to have a run around. We're going to have a family picnic. We'll come back down. So it's kind of moments like that which are gold as well, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And that's one of the things I was going to ask you about, Marcel. Have you got your teenage son there, and are you guys cranking out the music with the guitars, or?
Actually, much to the disappointment of my neighbours, going into lockdown on the Tuesday, I went and bought a full noise drum set for myself. And I'm learning to play the drums, but unfortunately, due to essential services, I could not get my garage soundproofed. So it's it's bloody good actually. I'm using the time to learn the drums and I can actually keep time and rhythm. It's not too bad. I'm pretty crap, but he's just sensational on the guitar. I mean, if you ever look up Dream Theater, Dream Theater's got this really famous guitarist called John Petrucci. So look it up online and look at the shit that he plays. And my son plays that crap. So he plays pretty well. But me, I'm just boom, chick, and then out of time. So, but I'm getting better.
That's good. And Groot says hi. I just noticed. That must be Lisa's doggy. You've sent me some clips of your son playing before. Maybe you should flick them into the chats and we can check it out that way. That'd be quite cool. So I think we've got everybody introduced. Oh, Hermione's off the phone now. So Gemma McKenzie, who I keep calling Hermione because that's her new AFQA nickname. She had a background screen that had the Harry Potter crew in it, and she looked like Hermione. So tell us what's today's favourite spell.
Favorite spell. Hi, I'm Gemma. I'm a writer, and I used to love Harry Potter. I think I still do, nostalgically. Um, best and worst thing about lockdown at the moment for me, yesterday I made chocolate chip cookies and got 2 new mink blankets delivered from Briscoe's because it has been insanely cold lately. Worst thing is sort of similar to the conversation before. My dog's been having like really loud gurgly stomach noises and looking a bit like sick and going like, oh, do I need to take her to the vet? Is the vet still open? Like, how do you even take your dog to the vet at the moment? But he seems okay this morning, so yeah, it was a bit scary.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's the silence enables you to hear so much more, and our dog. Our dog. I don't know. We've
That's
changed.
what my neighbours are
changed the
hoping for,
diet.
mate.
Hey.
That's what my neighbours are hoping for, a bit of silence.
Yeah. But we've changed his diet, and it's caused him to have a little bit of flatulence. So he'll be here and he'll fart, and he'll be like shocked, like, "What was that?" Like, it's just like a human going, "Wasn't me." But yeah, that's probably one of the funny moments. One of the worst moments though is the more time I spend looking around the garden. You can't tell from the view you've got because it looks just like bush there, but every time I look around the garden, I keep on seeing the things that I keep meaning to do and should have done weeks ago. But it's for me, it's the it's just like the GFC. So back in the GFC, I used to say making the same results, but it's taking 3 times as much effort. So yeah, the balancing work life with a pretty unwell wife and catering for that, and also getting through the work to ensure that there's something happening, and keeping up the AFQY appearances. But it's the good thing is it's a passion that I love. It's like getting everyone together here for having some human contact. It's part of what the joy of AFQY is about. So hopefully you'll all be booked in to come for Thursday night with your Easter eggs. And if not, no drama. Come when you can, come when you can't. But the time to start getting down some rabbit holes now. So not to talk about the enormity of it, but I do wonder when we are going to come out of lockdown. And someone raised yesterday that it's going to go level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1. It's not just going to go level 4, we're done. So not sure what people's thoughts are on that, but the floor is open in terms of what the reverse out of this will be looking like.
So we were in Christchurch, there's a thing called Canterbury Tech, which is where there's a monthly get-together of people all involved in the tech industry. And one of the people that was presenting last night was she's the Chief Digital Officer for CDHP. And she used a term that I hadn't heard before, which is flex, which is where at level 4, we might go level 3, then we might have to go back to level 4, and then 3, then 2. So it may be a bit of a
roller coaster.
Well, yes, but hopefully not quite as extreme. But the term flex she used about 3 or 4 times, and I thought, okay, that's in line with some of the other things that I've been hearing from, through what we do, is that it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, yay, life. There will be, I think it might just weave a wee bit, if that's the way of wording it.
Yeah.
I think we've got to watch that if you do go down to 3, everyone doesn't suddenly go, oh, freedom, and then starts doing everything you shouldn't have been doing at 3, and then that causes you back to go to 4 because, cases rocket, and just realizing, I don't think we'll come out of an alert level until there's a vaccine or until, that there is the ability to control it completely. And I don't think the borders will open for us in terms of leaving or people coming in for at least this year, if not this time next year. That's my kind of personal thoughts on it to keep us safe. So we'll become a very different, whatever we do come out to will be very different. We'll be a much more isolated country and have to learn to do a lot more ourselves. And I think from my perspective, we rely so heavily on offshore people coming in for tech jobs. Hopefully that will encourage companies to actually grow people, and actually upskill them internally and really help with that skill shortage we have here in NZ. So it's all so much about what's going to happen. But yeah, new normal, as everyone keeps saying, right?
Yeah, well, Chandon has employed 18 people since lockdown.
Go Chandon, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and only 4 of them were actually from overseas. So because we just
lost you.
Hang on one sec. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I was just saying, and only 4 of them were from overseas
Yeah.
because we just can't get any visas
No.
unless they are for essential services.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it is a bit challenge, as you said, Lisa, to find the right people. But there's a lot of talent in the country, and I'm sure there's a lot of jobs that will come into the economy in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. I broke my heart yesterday. I've spoken to 2 people, and I've got a couple more that have been sent my way by. So there's a software company that had 4 people come from offshore, and they've all been in the country since mid-March, had their visas, and now they've just told them they're not starting. So these people have been sat in lockdown for the last 3 weeks, or since being isolated, and now they've got no jobs. So they're here they've got no family, they've got no friends. So, and I'm just trying to find them something. I don't want to fee for it. I know. I'll tell them to. I'm going to tell them to. I'm just sending them out to people and saying, I don't want to fee for this. I just want to help these people because it just breaks my heart, the situation they're in. So I'll invite them. But if anyone knows any good .NET developers with really strong DevOps, full stack, I know these. You want Chandon? I'll pass you their details. I'll flick you their LinkedIn profiles.
Yeah, we've got around 15 to 20 more positions still to fill, and Azure.NET is one of them.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
send them all.
I'll send you their details, Jen. As I say, I mean, much as I have a business to run, this is more important. Sorting them out. It breaks my heart. So I'll flick you their details, definitely.
Well, there's a good win for everybody, especially for those 4. And at AFQY on Thursday night, going to have, I haven't quite worked out the details of it yet, which is often the way, but I've called it Community Exchange, and we'll say that was a perfect example of it. So the idea is that we'll have at the conclusion of the speakers, of which Chandon is one and also a sponsor, we'll have a community exchange. So I'll send it out in the final email, which will sort of explain, because we need to sort of make it open. But if we've got hundreds of people there and everyone just starts talking at once, it might not work so well. So I've got to work out how to manage that to make it effective for everyone. But I'll have a think about that, and maybe I'll use the chat as a thing. So they can be maybe a way of announcing it through chat, and as you see it come through, people can put their hand up and get going that way. But the community exchange part to help the people, because of course, coming back to that thing, we've got a whole bunch of people that have lost their jobs. We've got a whole bunch of really capable people looking for work, and we've still got a range of industries that are looking for team members. So the idea is to make it easy for them to connect and get that going, among any and everything else. So if someone's got a need and someone can fulfill it, then that would be great. But there's heaps of these sorts of sites going on. So not to try and compete or replace, but just to have conversation. And even if it's sharing, like Vincent, for example, they have Scale, which is a freelancers portal, and have waived, like Lisa's talking about, with waived fees for the COVID-19 or for various situations. Just there to help and be a conduit between getting good people connected to, I guess, surviving or existing. So cool. So who else wants to come up
just to jump in, Ryan? You talked about one of the things that you said right early on, which was around getting to know your neighbours. Like in our street here, as a kid, you used to know your neighbours. You play at their place or whatever. What one of the ladies did do in the street is she put flyers in before we went into lockdown and said, "Look, I'm going to make a WhatsApp group. Get your mobiles, etc." So a lot of people actually connected up in the street. These are people I'll wave to or whatever, or might not even wave to in my street, but they're all actually contributing, and it's led to some really interesting things from, I don't know if it's officially allowed to or not, but somebody might say, "Hey, look, I've got some reading material. There's some puzzle material." People have been putting their baking, and then there's been competitions going on with people putting different baking and stuff like that. So that whole sort of community thing that dropped out, really interesting, because it's never been there in the street. People have sort of just got on with their lives. But it was quite fascinating to see it happen, within the last 2 weeks of this through a WhatsApp group. Simple thing. you know.
It raises, as you're one of them in the midst of it, it raises the question, because I always, for my whole life, have felt really awkward walking past a neighbour and just saying g'day. And part of it is do they actually want to speak to me, or do they have time to speak to me? Because I remember growing up, I remember my parents saying something about, oh, you know, it's bloody good that so and so have moved because now they don't live in our doorstep, or live in our pocket. And I was actually going to do a thing years ago, which was put a thing in the litter box and Newsday and say, hey, look, we're all neighbours, but for various reasons we don't talk, and that's probably just a societal thing this day and age. But how about if we exchange numbers and organise something like a monthly barbecue or quarterly barbecue for the cul-de-sac, and exchange numbers, but do it on the premise that you text first, you don't just turn up, and if people can't respond, that's cool, just leave them be. What we don't want to do is, you know, steal people's time or create an issue from it, or live in each other's doorsteps.
Yeah.
I never got round to it, but every time I see a neighbour, I'm always like, hey, how's it going? They're like, I'm like, okay. But yeah, that sort of moving from that
the WhatsApp works
to
quite good, because you've got people who are participating but they're not participating, and then there are other people who would contribute a little bit here and there. So it's kind of allows them to be part of it, but not necessarily, you know, an active contributor. And it's pretty inoffensive because it's what people are used to. You know, people buying a keyboard always, but it's got their names associated with it, so you kind of know. People did introductions. I'm from here. I'm here. I'm here. This number. This is who we've got. And after that, it's just, you know, it's just continued to roll forward. So it's quite an interesting sort of momentum that's been gathered. You know, somebody says, I'm going to the shop, going to the pharmacy, anybody need anything? Things like that. It's quite interesting.
Yep. So any other thoughts? We've got 10 minutes before we get off to work. So open the floor. Who wants to jump in there?
I think one of the thought I have was, it would be interesting when we go down, because at the moment we're all at home, all individually on our camera, so it works actually quite well. Once we start going to 3, 2, and 1, 3, we've never been really, because we've just like gone through it on our way to 4. But when we go down to 3, 2, it'll be very interesting how all of us will adapt to this. Like some of us will probably go to the office, but not others. And then what I found with Zoom, it's really good when we're talking, we're all in this, but as soon as you have a room with 4 people and then 2 people on Zoom, it's just very different. The dynamics are very different. And I hope we're going to keep that spirit of all in this together, as opposed to, you know, breaking that apart before we go back to reality.
Gemma, when we talk later today, this is one of the subjects around the human aspects. So Gemma works with me. She's a writer, as she mentioned, and doing some work with me to turn my random thoughts into very well articulated language with no spelling mistakes. So yeah, but the problem I have is I have all these ideas and all these things, and I keep on going, oh. So I text it to myself. I text it to my wife. I put it into Evernote. I put it into email. I know that I've got one idea out of 20 to Gemma at the moment. So it's like, oh, but yeah, I'm really interested in the human side of it, and the I've also been thinking, when we get to safety, do I run an in-person AFQY party so we can all come and get together in person, especially the people that have only met online, or would no one actually want that because they much prefer just being at home and coming from online? And the final thing is, when I did the first breakout rooms, I had 2 people in it. A lot of people said it was quite awkward afterwards, being one-on-one with a stranger, whereas when it was 4 people, or 3 or 4 people, just that one extra person created the breathing space for it not be awkward. So see.
Safety in numbers.
Oh, there we go.
I'm going to say to Gemma, good luck on getting Ryan's thoughts into one place.
Yeah, big job, all right. Yeah.
Well, he'll tag me in a comment on LinkedIn and be like, oh yeah, we've got to do an article about this, and I'm like, I hope you're writing these down.
Yeah, I think I am. We'll get there. It's all there. I speak for things, so when we speak, it'll all just come tumbling out, and then we'll type it down and we'll get it sorted. I got a good list, but any suggestions and input are welcome, because yeah, I'm quite excited about the change to being more human or more humane humans that this is going to generate and create. But of course, you never know what's going to happen. I think the term is unintentional consequences. No, consequences or unintentional consequences will do. But we think one thing will happen, and then something totally different or the opposite will happen. So
yeah, it's funny you just talk about, you know, human, the aspect of it, and that's what I was reading some futurist that somebody had clicked on and put out there, and it was a futurist talking about the fact that what's going to come out of it is essentially humans are going to have to evolve to actually just be more human in everything that they do. That's around their creativity, their engagements, and everything like that. The menial stuff and it's all disappearing. So
I mean, it puts a lot of stuff into perspective, right? And I think a few people have talked about it, right? It's kind of like, you know, work-wise, I'm just really focusing on what needs to be done. But personal-wise, you're putting that time aside a little bit more to have those connections or those conversations, or to kind of be with those people that you can be with. So it's kind of interesting in your own mind. You know, historically you might have just been focused on work or whatever, but now it's kind of, that's my time. I need to spend it as much as I possibly can. I mean, what's more interesting with people kind of outside or in the wider world, you look at kind of what's going on with social, there's a kind of balance with those people who are being, you know, kind, caring and understanding. But there's also a little bit of, you know, people are, some characteristics I wouldn't necessarily think come out of people, but they do, in terms of their opinions on what people are doing and why they're doing it. I'll give you an example. So a local kind of community Facebook group, there was a group of people who had let's say a social quiz at the end of their, let's say, driveway, and they all sat in their own driveways, and somebody else kind of was the quizmaster and all of that kind of stuff, and they posted a few photos and all of that kind of stuff. And then there was a few people who went, oh, well, it's not supposed to be a nice environment you're sitting in, you're not supposed to be having fun, you're not supposed to be enjoying yourself. And it's like, come on, mate, please have a word with yourself.
You're not supposed to be having fun.
Yeah, like, what are you saying?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, really? Did somebody make you an official in charge of what people are supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
That's just nuts.
Yeah, I think you know, there's a lot of what was it referred? There's a lot of viciousness that people have within themselves, which they can, you know, would quite often explode out onto other people with their, you know, their opinion, and it's this way and it's black and white and yada yada yada. And I think people are actually probably getting to a stage where there's just a lot of grey, and you know, your opinions are important, but they're important to you only. No one really gives a toss. Just getting on. I mean, we're just getting on. We get together. We got a family. I got all my kids home. My kids are not young. I mean, they're a lot older than you guys, but we're having laughs. You know, Jesus Christ. We're having a lot of humour and a lot of banter, and people are getting on their distance learning. I'm working, fortunately. My wife's not. Am I supposed to be having fun? Oh, come on.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like Karen, who was on before, talked about it, talking more to her sister in the last 2 weeks and the last 10 years. The same with my brother. So my mum had a stroke or mini stroke last year, and we still managed to argue like we did when we used to speak to each other 10 years ago at that point. But now we're just talking and reconnecting and chatting, almost like, you know how you have those mates that are you might see once every few years, but when you get together, it's just like you've never been apart. So it's been a bit like that, which has been quite strange for both of us. I think we've both been on knife's edge, waiting for one of us to say one of those comments that would set the other one off. And you know, the the happy dam would burst and all the old shit would come pouring out, but it hasn't. So it's been quite enchanting. In fact, I'm trying to convince him to speak at one of the AFQY events because he lives in Sweden, on his island, down in the middle of nowhere. But he runs a globally distributed. Was running he just left that job actually. He was running a globally distributed development team, developing the software that maps AFQY, which is one of the world's largest. It's a pretty substantial container shipping firm. Ships everywhere, things everywhere. So if you go, where's my Darth Vader cup that I'm sending to Perry in Brisbane? You can click on your link and watch it tracking through the world, and that's the sort of stuff he does. So it's got some relevance to AFQY tech community, and it's also got some what's happening in Sweden, because over there they're taking the Swedish way, which is we'll be responsible, we'll self-isolate, which Kiwis couldn't do, of course. So they forced us in lockdown, but the Swedish are all being responsible. So yeah, it's quite an interesting difference. Plus he speaks with a really funny accent now, so.
I mean, it's an interesting point that you bring up, right? The current situation is, I guess, put on us to a certain extent, because what the announcement was on the 23rd that we're going into 3, and then on the 20 whatever we're going into 4. So I don't know that Kiwis were actually given really a choice, but I know that there were some people prior to that who were taking a more, let's say, sensible approach. You're always going to get those outliers in society, right? Both ends of the spectrum. But it's interesting, we weren't really given a choice. So it would be interesting to see what society would have done had we been given a choice, like Switzerland.
No, we were given a choice. We were asked to go into self-isolation, and then we went into forced self-isolation. So I don't know if it was because we weren't doing it ourselves, or if they just went, we've got to do this. But it's interesting because you hear on one side, well, not in this instance, but in other things, we can't let the government have control. It's a slippery slope to the end, and blah blah blah. I haven't heard any of that. Maybe I'm not watching the same Zeitgeist channels anymore, but
yeah, you're not connected to the right people on LinkedIn. Well, you are connected to the right people on LinkedIn.
Yeah. See those that are dropping out. Make sure you connect with everybody and join the dots.
See you at another time. I've got to disappear as well.
Yep, no worries. Look after the cherries and the birds and tails.
It's a hard life having.
I was about to go look after the cherries and the sparrows, and I was like, no, well, sparrows. Why am I thinking sparrows? Because that's your name.
I'm going to leave you with a bombshell of a fantail that's just a sparrow with a nice butt. See you.
Brilliant.
Humour of some, those South Islanders, geez. At least he didn't talk about a sheep.
Jesus.
I better go as well. I've got another catch up with someone. So
no worries.
Really nice to meet everyone. Take care. See you tomorrow, hopefully. Bye.
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 And then there were 4.
Oh, seriously.
Well, what time is it? 9:31.
Yeah,
Power goes off in 29 minutes at my place, apparently.
Power goes off.
Yeah, so Vector are doing a scheduled outage to. They were due to do it at the weekend, but apparently there's a cyclone coming in, so they've moved it up the schedule. Yeah.
So talking about birds, the starlings that stay in pairs, and they have the beautiful shaped wings. When they fly around crazy, that's a sign that there's a storm coming.
Oh yeah.
There are some up at the park that we take our dog up to, and they were going nuts yesterday. And I said, "Oh, there's a storm coming."
When you see big black grey clouds coming in the sky, yeah, that's a sign.
That's a sign, eh? Yeah.
We've got.
That's just you when you're telling spells.
Yeah.
That was a Harry Potter reference, eh, Ryan?
What's that?
That was a Harry Potter reference.
Yes.
Eh?
I don't know how useful it would be to be able to control the weather magically. I just want to make the rain go away. Why would you need to make? You do need rain. Yeah.
You do need rain. You've got to take the butterfly effect into consideration, right?
I watched Star Wars 9, and they have extended the capabilities of the Force. So in the other one, Luke was like there but not there, and what they do in this one. But yeah, they've. I don't know. We haven't had the Star Wars debate. Maybe that can be tomorrow.
Which one's 9, bro?
That's the story of the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
Kylo Ren. Yeah, but how they so that was one thing that's actually been happening since the girl was in there, is that they're in different places but are talking to each other in each other's minds and then fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and but there was another thing that happened. Oh, the ship. Holding the ship back. So in the Star Wars 1, 2, and 3, like Yoda could only just get Luke's X-wing out of the pond. Empire Strikes Back. Whereas now they're actually holding back ships that are using their blasters to take off. That's like,
well,
we played Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, and we're just like, fuck it, I'm level 2,027,13 wizard, ogre, giant, elf, everything. I kill everybody. You're dead. Okay, we're done. Let's go.
Have you watched The Mandalorian? I'm assuming you have.
Yeah, I've watched the first 6 episodes.
Oh yeah.
We watched it in Raro. Binge watched it. It's so good.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit empty, and I mean that in the visuals. Like Star Wars went too full. Like it was full of CGI and full of like, there wasn't just a building. There was 25,000 million skyscrapers and blah blah blah. It was just too full on. But the Mandalorian almost seemed a bit empty.
Well, it kind of seemed to go back to some of the original, 5 and 6, right? In terms of the storyline a little bit. Still got all of those visual effects and stuff like that, but I guess it's set in a different place and time.
I lost my wallet. No, was it my wallet or my credit card? Oh, my credit. But I had to get a new credit card, and before I got the new credit card, Disney cancelled my subscription, so I haven't seen past 6.
Oh,
yeah.
damn.
Something to look forward to. But the things I thought I paid for an annual subscription, so I'm a bit unsure. I have to check my records. If I paid the $99 and it shouldn't stop.
Yeah.
$6 a month or whatever. People, I'm going to have to get rocking and rolling. I've got to set up a meeting with this writer called Gemma, or she wrote, and actually get billing out for this month, which should have been out 6 days ago. So pretty important stuff.
Yeah, come on, bro. Have a word with yourself.
Yes.
Cash flow is king in these times.
Yes. So that's why I'm going to rush now. But see you all on tomorrow night and hopefully tomorrow morning.
I might actually be able to make tomorrow night now. Who knows?
Good.
Well, it's been a while. All right, mate. You have fun.
All right.
Nice to meet you, Gemma. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. Ciao now.